Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, everybody. It is me, it is Holly. I don't know, I just did that. It's late. I'm just getting things set up, so this is more of a test than anything, but who knows, maybe I'll leave it in. Okay, yeah, I think I'm ready to go. All right. Hi. What's going on? It's me. It's your girl, Holly, and I'm back at it with another episode. Would you look at that? I managed to post twice in 1 month. Goals have been broken, y'all. I am setting a high standard for myself, so whatever that means. I'm trying out some new equipment, just like a new cord, new settings, so hopefully the audio is coming through quite clear, because this is a very experimental episode in the sense that I've changed several things that I normally don't change, but it is in the spirit of trying to get better, so I really hope this works out. Today's episode is actually, I want to tell you kind of what's going on right now before I get into today's episode. I am currently sitting at my desk and I am drinking some hot water with a little bit of lemon in it. I've come to the realization that I actually need to start buying lemons that I can cut up and put in hot water, because that tastes far better than just using the lemon juice extract, which is fine, but like, oh my god, there's just nothing like a real lemon. That's just like my new thing lately, is hot water with lemon in it, because I'm really trying to dial it back with caffeine. That means is I'm not really doing coffee or tea. If I do have a cup of coffee or if I do have a cup of black tea, I just have 1 cup and that's it for the day. I do not have another, and that cup is usually around 12 ounces, and most of the times it is tea rather than coffee, and that's been the kind of kick I've been on lately. When I do drink tea, it's green tea, because that only has about like 20 to 30 milligrams of caffeine in a 12-ounce cup, as opposed to 100 milligrams in just a regular cup of coffee. So quite the difference there, 20 milligrams versus a whole 90 to 100, you know? I'm doing this in an attempt to get my sleep schedule back. I think that the root of all my problems is in my sleep schedule, because when I do get a decent night's sleep, it just changes everything. I feel like I'm back at it. I am more myself. Lately, I haven't really been feeling myself, and I am finding that it's probably largely due to my lack of sleep. And it's just been because I've been, go, because I've just, been doing school. And when I'm not at school, I am at work. And when I'm not at work, I am at school. And it has been nonstop. So I only have 30 minutes to an hour to myself every day, if that. And so it's been a lot. And I think I need to kind of take a step back, but I need to be more strict and focus on my sleep schedule, because that's just the thing that's impacting me the most. So yeah, dialed back on caffeine, hot water with lemon in it. Can't go wrong. Absolutely love it. It's like my new favorite thing, When you drink caffeine, let's say you drink some at 12 o'clock, that is still going to be in your system almost going into the next day. So you had a cup of coffee at 12 p.m. It's still going to be in your system by 9 p.m. That's based on scientific research. And once I heard that, I just knew that I need to do something about this. So typically I have my little bit of caffeine in the morning. I'm really trying to be strict about afternoons, but it's a little bit hard when you've always done something. So if I am going to have it in the afternoons, it's definitely going to be the green tea and not some black tea. When I do have black tea, I have it as a treat, I am trying to be strict about this, but it's hard because I love black tea with some cream and sugar in it. But I'm trying to have it maybe once or twice a week as opposed to every day. I think I'm doing okay. It's going to take a while to kind of kick this, but yeah, that's a little bit about where I'm at and what I'm doing, and now I'm sitting here talking to you, which is pretty exciting. I love you guys so much. I love doing this. Well, let's get into the episode then. Today's episode, episode 14, is called Friendship in the Digital Age. So basically, I'm just going to be talking about Gen Z and Gen Z's friends. How does Gen Z make friends? How does Gen Z feel about friends? What does Gen Z do in the wild to make friends? Anyway, I'm just kidding. It is about friendship in the digital age, and it is going to be pertaining to mostly Gen Z, because I'm Gen Z, So this first part is kind of my thoughts mixed with a little bit of research. I'll start off by saying, personally, I think making friends as an adult is hard. The way I think about this as Gen Z, as a young adult myself, is there are constant barriers or obstacles that we are constantly trying to overcome with the goal of making a friend and starting a long-term and meaningful relationship with that person, Unfortunately, research shows that the pandemic couldn't have come at a worse time for Gen Z in the sense that many of us are entering a more serious occupation after graduating college. Some are even graduating high school. Basically, we've undergone huge milestones in isolation that would have otherwise been more of a social event, Like when you start a new job, you meet people at that job. When you start college, you meet people at college. But everything was digital, so you finish your milestone and then you head into your next big part of life with no social aspect. That's unfortunate. Research suggests experts say that overall social circles have shrunk after a lonely couple of years during the pandemic, and that is according to Google. I don't know the exact source, but that's what came up on Google. I will say that I thought there would be a little bit more to my research when looking up how Gen Z and young adults are making friends in the current climate, but literally every article was kind of dead in the sense that Google was hinting that friendship was, or has been fleeting thanks to COVID. So there was just no new information. It was like, hey, we just went through a pandemic. There's not much here, so good luck. I do remember when I was trying to make friends back in 2019 before the pandemic, I did a similar Google search. And the way that it was back then, how you made friends was by joining a community, whether that's a sports team or league, or you did a dance class or a cooking class, but those are all social things. And so that was all just gone during the pandemic. So how do you make friends now? So before the pandemic, you would just join these extracurriculars as an adult because they would have in Tri-Cities at the time. I Googled this because I was living in Tri-Cities and there's not much to do and I was getting very lonely and had this longing for friends, but I just didn't know what to do next. And so I Googled that, and basically Google's like, ultimate frisbee is just a huge thing in the Tri-Cities. I don't know why, I don't understand it, but the kicker was that it was all men's leagues, so I couldn't do it if I wanted to. But if you're trying to make friends in the Tri-Cities, you better start learning ultimate frisbee and learn to love it, because that was the thing that kept coming up over and over again. I did find a ping pong league that was open to everyone, but they had really weird hours, so I never got down there. So yeah, not much to do in Tri-Cities. There's that. So yeah. But that brings me back to what I was saying. How do we make friends? What are some ways to meet new people? And here's what I've come up with. Apps, okay? You know it and I know it. Apps dominate the world right now. As far as if you want to do this, if you want to do that, there's an app for that, More specifically, there are apps like Meetup, which is an app that will allow you to show your location. So you enable your location and the app will show you events taking place in your area with a specific date and time. You sign up for a group or event that you're interested in, and then you can attend. My experience with this app, I've only used it once, to be honest. I used it during the end of COVID. I've only been to one event. It was a digital event where we all hopped on Zoom to discuss a niche topic. Basically, there was a speaker who talked to a bunch of us at once, and many signed up because we thought what she had to say had a lot of value. And to be completely transparent with you, this was regarding school. I was doing research to figure out what UI UX looked like, and this was a virtual event with somebody who was already in the job and who's going to talk about some of the struggles or things to watch out for, or strengths, weaknesses, things to expect. And she was talking to people that were either getting started or were just curious. So that's what I used the Meetup app for. I've never found an event that I've really been interested in doing on Meetup. I mean, you can look up a topic, I looked up engineering for some reason one time, and it brought up beers with engineers. So if you are an engineer at Microsoft or any of the big tech companies down here, there are a lot of groups that are beers with engineers. So yeah, and I'm not an engineer, but for some reason that there's just a lot of that. So you look up something like crocheting, and then maybe somebody's hosting a group of 4 or 5 people. They can be as big as 30 to 50 people too. And then you would go do that with other people. But I haven't found anything. But that's a thing. It's called Meetup. It's on the App Store. Maybe give it a shot, depending on where you live. It lives on my phone, but I just don't use it because I can't ever get it to work in my favor, or find a group that I'm really interested in being a part of, to be honest. Next would be Bumble, the dating app. It has a friends feature called Bumble BFF that allows you to go through the app like usual, but instead, you're being matched with potential friends instead of dates. I'll talk a little bit about my experience with this app. When I did Bumble BFF, I did not enjoy it. Everyone was either trying to be cool or pretend to be someone they're not, because it's fundamentally a dating app. So the mindset of how can I show my worth and portray this executive status that I don't have in real life just to impress whoever comes across my profile, which is why I don't think this works, because it really turns into a game fast. You're sizing up people and going, how can I get value from this person rather than making a friend? Sometimes you don't get value from your friends in the sense that they don't create career opportunities for you. Maybe they're just your friend because you guys like to go fishing together. But what happens on Bumble BFF is it's a lot of competition and a bunch of people trying to say, oh, I work here, or I do this, or this is the value that I give. And in a weird way, it's still like, I don't know, it just doesn't work. It's very pretentious and it often goes nowhere. Like you match with someone and it goes nowhere. It's so awkward and so weird. I stopped doing it shortly thereafter. Maybe some people have had successes with it, but I did it and immediately knew that was just not it, not a vibe. But then again, people do try to make friends on Tinder, but Tinder doesn't have a friends feature. That's another place people go often to make friends. They don't have that feature, but people still go on there and they put in their bio that they're already coupled up and they're just on there to make or meet new people. This annoys the hell out of me because Tinder is primarily set up as a dating app. It's only a dating app, but people are going on there, and I think they're leaving Bumble BFF, to be honest, or like other apps like Hinge, and they're like, this isn't working, I'm just gonna go to Tinder because it's a really popular app, you know? But it's a dating app. That's all I can say, it's a dating app. So what happens is I'll match with someone really cool, and then I'll go back and revisit their profile, see that it's a friends only thing, and then I'm disappointed because I was thoroughly looking forward to trying to date this person, but now I feel as if I've been catfished because I was unaware of their true intentions before swiping right. But then again, not everyone reads the little bios. Some people are just in a hurry and they're going purely off looks, which I'll even admit I've done that before. And that's how I end up getting screwed because I missed the bio and got a friends only profile that I otherwise would have never swiped right on to begin with had I seen the I'm only here to make friends status on their profile. I'm sorry, but when I'm going through Tinder, I'm not thinking to myself, wow, he or she would make an excellent friend. I'm thinking, wow, they've got the looks and amazing bio. We seem to have a lot in common. I could see myself going on a potential date with this person because I think we would be a great match as romantic partners. So that's why I get frustrated. It's weird that that's even a concept, if I'm being honest. Concept being trying to make friends on Tinder. I've never done it. I mean, we did just go through a pandemic, so I understand where people are going in the sense that they're trying to utilize all of their tools in their toolbox. But to be honest, I feel like a dating app can only be a dating app and a friend app can only be a friend app. You can't be both. It just doesn't work because you can't have friends and potential dating prospects all in the same place. I had a friend actually do her own study and her results back this theory. She did the study because she's working on an app where users can make new friends in several different ways, but she purposely excludes any dating trends within her app, making it clear that the app is to be used only to make friends, which is why I think it's going to work. Another way that you can kind of make friends is Facebook groups. I think that people are low-key lying about this. I'm not trying to be mean, but I have never met or seen anyone say that they have the friends that they do because they met them in a Facebook group. But if you did, that's awesome. And maybe shoot me the group that you made friends in. I just can't see it, man. I'm a part of a Facebook group called Meeting New People in Seattle. I didn't even know I was a part of it. I specifically went to all my Facebook groups to see if I had tried this trend in the past because Google will tell you how to make new friends, join a Facebook group. That Facebook group that I'm in, not a lot happening. It's actually kind of weird. Anytime that I'm in a Facebook group for anything, it always gets a little weird. And I don't know why. And I think it's because people don't know how to really go about it or talk to each other. So that's why I feel like people are low-key lying about Facebook groups being the source of where their friendships are coming from. But then again, maybe that is the case. And if that is, go you, dude, because I could not figure it out, you know? And to be honest, I don't know. Facebook isn't really the first place that I look for friends or go on, mainly because nobody my age really uses Facebook anymore. There's a few that do, but for me, it's kind of where you post your graduation pic so your mom and her friends can see it. But if I'm posting to my friends, that's not the app that I would include. Like if I'm trying to reach my people that I grab a beer with, if I want them to see it, I go to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, even Reddit sometimes. But I go to Reddit because depending on the subject, they do have niche groups on there where people talk about / post about things like analog photography or art, or it'll be a specific topic, and it's widely known that we're just all here from different places to talk about this one topic with no real intention of meeting up in real life. So that's a little bit different. But yeah, no luck with Facebook groups for me personally. To be honest, I only use Facebook to troll from time to time now. That's what it's become. Some people still use it, and some people are having a good time on it. I stopped using it for a long time, and then I just began to troll, and I don't know why. But every 3 years, I post some Melanie Martinez lyrics, and I don't think that they're her original lyrics. I think she sampled them. But you know her song Pity Party, where she goes, "It's my party, I can cry if I want to." I'll take that exact line, "It's my party and I can cry if I want to," and I'll post that as my status, you know, as a way to say, like, I'm in control of my own life. Like, it's my party, I can cry if I want to, you know, I am my own woman. I don't know. That song and that sentence just means a lot to me because it means something specifically to me that nobody else understands or really could understand because I don't explain it. But I post that as my status every 3 years, and people take it the way that they want to take it, and it's great. What that means is I'll get people going, "Oh no, why are you crying? Don't cry." I'm not actually crying. And then other people go, "Oh my gosh, Melanie Martinez, love that song, love that album." And then we'll get into a whole discussion about her best song, album, current looks, music that we're waiting for. And then other people will just be confused. And it just starts this dialogue of 3 different people coming to my status and trying to figure out what it means. It's like a riddle. It's just random and nobody gets it, and it just causes a lot of confusion and chaos, and I live for it. I know that this is probably kind of low-key wrong. Like, I shouldn't, like, I mean, it's not hurting anyone, and I only do it every 3 years. It's just for a laugh, you know? Very random, very weird, but that's what I use Facebook for, is to troll. Any chance I get to post something funny on there. Like the other day I posted, so it was a picture of Prince, and then, hold on, I'm pulling it up on my phone. Okay. So I posted a picture of Prince with a quote that says, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet." That quote was said by Bob Dylan, drummer of Metallica, and then it's a picture of Prince. You can see how all 3 of those things do not go together, because that mentions like 3 separate people and an entire band. And then people take that super seriously, and they'll go, "Huh, Bob Dylan, Metallica. I didn't know he was black," you know? And it's just like, it's just me messing with people. That's what I mean by trolling. So now you know, now you're in on my little joke. So I guess let's move on to the other place that you can make friends. TikTok. All right. TikTok is by far, you know, before I get into this, I'm going to take a sip of water. So a little ASMR for y'all. Wow, that got cold fast. I literally just microwaved that a little while ago. I guess it hasn't been a little while ago because I've been recording for some time now. Going into the next topic, TikTok. TikTok is by far the only app that I've had the most success with when it comes to making new friends. All my friends right now are from TikTok. For example, my last podcast episode was me talking all things photography with my friend Matthew Rigg. I don't know why I said his name like that. I was trying to figure out if I should call him Matt or Matthew, because he goes by both. It always confuses me when somebody has a nickname in their name. So like somebody's name is Bradley, but they go by Brad, but they actually go by both. So you never know if you should just say Bradley or Brad or Jeff or Jeffrey or Josh or Joshua. Little tangent there, but yeah, my last podcast episode was me talking to Matt about photography. And guess where I met him? On TikTok. Basically what happened was I have Seattle in my bio, so it says like shoot all things film, and then it says based in Seattle, WA. And then his bio, I don't know what it says now, but it used to say based in Seattle, WA. And so you know how the For You page works. Came across each other's accounts. He was the first one to reach out, and he was like, "Hey, nice to see a fellow film photographer in Seattle." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's from Seattle. I have to pursue this." So we followed each other on Instagram. That's about it. And then we met in real life. And now he's a friend. But he's not just an online friend, like he's an actual friend. I like having him as a friend. He's cool. He likes vinyl, and we talk about Frank Ocean. He's great. He was a great guest to have on the podcast too, so go listen to his episode. It's definitely some food for thought. It gave me a lot to think about, I know that for sure. And he's a really talented film photographer, has a lot of insight and wisdom. Definitely go give it a listen to figure out what kind of person he is, because that's the kind of friend I have. Because your friends make you think. They give you new things to try, new things to think about. That's a good friend. But as far as online goes, meeting people on TikTok, this happens to be the case for the majority of my friends that I have right now, which is not many, but the people I do talk to on a regular basis just happen to be from TikTok. I do plan on meeting these people in real life at some point, because they are scattered everywhere, but I think these friendships have the potential to be long-term and be relationships with substance, and that's the important thing. These friends that I haven't met in real life, I will say, I do respect a lot of them, and we've literally met and become friends through the mutual love of film photography. So these aren't just random people. These are all people shooting film in their respective areas. But we met over the mutual love of film photography, which is why I think we work. So even though the relationship is strictly online, because they live far away, we do little things like hype each other up when one of us posts a big project or a passion project or a photo we really enjoyed. So that's pretty cool. Like if I just finish a project, some of my internet friends will reach out and go, hey, that was really great. Or like, wow, I was really impressed by this. Or they'll add their little, thoughts or anecdotes and stuff like that. And it's often very, very encouraging and uplifting and just fun to bond over our love of photography and creativity. To be honest, I don't receive this kind of feedback or encouragement from people that I've met in school or elsewhere. There are some, but very few. Most of the time, I'm gonna get a little bit transparent with y'all, a little honest, little heart to heart here. Before I say what I'm gonna say, you have to know that this episode was I'm gonna be honest, it was a little hard to think up, write, and produce. And you'll find out why as we go a little bit more in depth. And this wasn't hard in the way like when I got fired from that job that one time. It just, producing this episode has really made me think, and I've come to some realizations that I've been kind of coming to the conclusion of over time. So it's not like these thoughts just happened yesterday. It's been a bit of a process in this last month to a few months. But I also still feel like it's very important to talk about because, if we talk about it, we learn from it. It's good to be introspective about your own life and, ponder things. It can be healing in a way. But getting into it, when I said that I don't receive a lot of feedback or encouragement from people that I've met at school or elsewhere, what I was going to say is most of the time I'm too scared to share my achievements or any positive aspects of my life because people I know in real life have often been prone to pointing out why I wasn't a success or why my being optimistic about certain subjects is wrong. I have people from my past that would do that on a nearly daily basis, which is why I don't share as much anymore because it started to happen more and more with my so-called IRL friends and real life friends. I am trying to turn this around partly by converting my online friends into IRL friends. But what I mean is some really specific examples. When I was younger, anytime that I was excited about potentially dating someone, I will admit when it comes to dating, I'm a little bit behind, whereas I feel like my peers were given a little bit more freedom and trust via, their parental units. So they got to experience and do things at a much earlier age than me. And, it's different for everybody, but I feel like a late bloomer in a sense. I don't know if I'm even explaining this in a way that makes sense or makes sense to me, but I'll just get right into the example. I remember this one time when I was a kid and I was at youth group with, some girls, and at the time I was dating my first boyfriend. Well, I wasn't dating him. We were in the talking stage, or were we dating? I don't know. Let's just pretend that we were in the talking. No, man, I really don't know. It's been so long. Never mind. Anyway, we were talking. Just pretend that we're already dating by this time. And we were just talking, This would turn out to be a long distance relationship, so we really didn't spend much time together. But right before I moved, again, I met this boy at church, and the reason that we started dating is because he asked me out for a year and I got tired of saying no, which is not a great reason to date someone. I know that now, but let's pretend that it's all good and well here in the sense that in the very, very beginning, I was kind of excited about this relationship. I wasn't really excited about him. I was excited about the idea of someone being interested in me and getting to date and do all the things. And by do all the things, nothing like outlandish. I just meant like texting and thinking of him and saying, I'll see you soon. All of that adolescent kind of stuff, the cutesy, nothing even remotely serious because he was my first boyfriend and I was like 15 at the time. So basically, I remember being at youth group one Sunday morning or Sunday school, whatever it is. And we were talking and he said that he was thinking, and I asked him what he was thinking about. And he said, I'm thinking about you. And for some reason, this just got me really excited. I was like, that's so cute. He's thinking of me. The way that he worded it and the way that he delivered it, flawless. He did a really good job. I was so excited that, I was living in High School Musical in my head that I ran to my friends to tell them about how we were cutely texting each other and how I was excited about it. They immediately, and I mean immediately, looked at me with just, she's so pathetic in their eyes. Which is fine, I guess. It would have been cool if we could have all been happy about this, but it was not the case because they weren't at that stage, even though we were all the same age. They had been there, done that, and they were like, so one of the girls was like, so, and I was like, oh, well, I just wanted to share because I thought it was cool. And they just kind of all got on me in the sense that they were like, okay. And then I could kind of see that they were pondering whether they should remain friends with me if I'm getting excited about just the mere thought of talking to a boy when they were already, let's be honest, making out with their boyfriends full time and, whatever else they were doing. And I just wasn't there. And so it created this kind of barrier or bridge because they had already experienced what I was just experiencing, and then I'd never experienced what they were experiencing. So there was this gap and we couldn't really relate to each other in a way. And when you can't relate to someone, that almost becomes grounds for like, do I really want to stay friends with this person if we don't have very much in common? So a series of things like that would happen over time, and it really bummed me out because, when you go to your friends, you want them to be stoked for you. And it was just a series of events that, to the point where I've realized these past few months that I really don't share my achievements or things that I'm happy with or happy about, like especially, and I mean especially if it's a girl, like if I'm dating, I haven't been because I'm way too busy with work and school to even think about it. But I know that a time will come where I'm not. If I were to be talking to someone, or if I did have a girlfriend right now, no one would know. I think the first thing I would do if it was starting to get serious is I would text my sister because she's just a great resource and she's happy for me all the time and I can talk to her about anything, and we're just that close to the point where I would want her to know like, hey, guess what? This thing happened. And that's it. Like once that text has been sent and we talk about it, nobody else is gonna know. Unless I post on social media, which, I'm fine with because couples are cute and why wouldn't you post your person on social media? But I'm probably not gonna scream it from the rooftops or in a casual conversation with somebody else go, me and my girlfriend, unless it really is like warranted, Does that make sense? I'm less excited about sharing that stuff with people because everybody got on me before, but I'm trying to turn it around by surrounding myself with people who are excited for me. And weirdly enough, it's the online friends with the W and the IRL friends with the capital L. I feel like I had one more example of me being excited about something and other people not. I don't know what it was. But like, let's say that I win something or something else. I've gotten to a point in life where I really just have to be excited for me. And that is enough, I mean, obviously it would be nice to be happy with other people. It's widely known that I am very content with myself. And, when I catch a W in life, I'm happy about it. I really am. I'm happy with myself and I feel like that's enough. But again, I would be stoked if people were happy with me, but I no longer rely on those other people to be happy about something in the first place. Like I'm okay with me. I'm okay with my achievements. I'm proud of me, and that's just gonna always be my priority. I wouldn't mind having a little gathering of people where we're all like, yeah, if that made sense. I feel like I just word vomited, and hopefully that made sense. I don't know how to explain that. And I'm trying to have a little bit less of emotion in my voice, if you couldn't tell. Do it that way you will. Going back to the online friends, there's a lot of distance between me and them. But I don't mind that distance. Some of my online friends live in New York, France, Hawaii. So I'm very excited to visit them, meet them, and have that be a reoccurring thing because we have film photography or creativity as a mutual hobby or a career we're pursuing. And I feel like I'll be able to talk to them about creative struggles or endeavors and be met with positivity, empathy, or maybe some much needed advice. And I'm guessing that not all the things we talk about will be photography oriented once we really get to know each other, because I already do talk to these friends about like, oh, I'm having this struggle creatively, or this camera won't do this. Have you had this experience? Oh, my camera does this, but then it doesn't do this. Or we'll pass around photo passion projects like, oh, I'd really like to do a women's only this, or oh, I'm trying to get better at street photography. Oh, well, have you done this? And we go back and forth, and it's great. I love it. And most of this takes place in my Instagram DMs. I met all these people through TikTok, and then everybody utilizes Instagram DMs because TikTok does not have a good DMing system. Talking back and forth is weird. They just haven't integrated that very well, in my opinion. So basically what happens is you find them on TikTok, and then you follow them on Instagram, and then you allow each other, you hit the accept for DMs, and then that conversation starts, and then you can react or interact with their stories or whatever they're posting, and it's just additional fun. And that's where I'm at right now. Another thing, because this is all a part of personal experience and research that I've been looking up. Last thing I found on Google was a story about a man who didn't want to use apps, but still wanted to retain close friendships because he just didn't want to use apps. So what he started doing is he started traveling back to his old college town or city to reinforce, friendships, relationships, rather than letting them fade, which I thought was interesting. So that's another way you could go about it, is if you don't want to use apps and you met somebody in Boston and now you don't go to school in Boston because you live in Texas. Dude was literally leaving Texas periodically, meeting his friends in Boston for like a beer, spending a few days in Boston, and then going to like Wyoming to meet this I mean, it doesn't sound completely doable because like, what if you have 6 friends that live in 6 different states? But I don't know. Maybe he was just really focused. He was real intent on not using apps to make friends. But people go their separate ways after high school, college, and whatnot. But that's what he was doing, is he was going to whatever geographical location that these friends were in, and he was putting forth a lot of effort to make sure that those friendships did not fade. Another thing to note, though, that I just thought of is sometimes you can leave people for extended periods of time, and the friendship won't fade. It'll literally, as soon as you see this person, it'll be like you had never left. You pick up right where you left off. It's like no time has passed at all. And those friendships are great, but I don't know how many friendships that he had like that. But I've had a few of those. Those people are gone now, but I do understand the concept, and I think it's pretty cool. Moving away from kind of research, as far as my experience with apps and stuff like that, I want to talk about my story in terms of how I make friends. So I made a little pro-con list. Pros, let's start off with the good stuff. I do consider myself to have a bigger world view than most of my peers, meaning I have traveled and seen quite a bit more of the world than most people my age. I've been to the UK, France, Canada. I miss the United Kingdom. That was pretty cool. I do really miss France. So cool little story, maybe. I don't know. We go over to France and we visit my sister. She moved over there when she was younger because she married a Frenchman. So yay her, go her. Anyways, that's my reason for always visiting France, is I have family over there. And all of my nieces and nephews also live over there. So my parents would make trips on the way to Africa to France, and we'd visit my sister, and that's how we got to see them. What I miss about France, other than family, is we used to know a guy named Pierre. Pierre used to own a little bread shop. He would make croissants, baguettes, any type of bread. If it had dough, he had it. And it was this cute little bread store made out of like cobblestone bricks. I think those are used on buildings and not just streets. I don't know, but it was like that old-timey brick because, France it's beautiful. Anyway, we used to go in there because my sister's husband buys bread from Pierre, and then we would get a treat, and it was a very magical time. Pierre had all the carbs, so naturally, Pierre was my first love. I'm just kidding. But no, I loved going in there and smelling the fresh bread and getting to eat something. It was just a really neat experience, and I think I had one of the best chocolate croissants I've ever had in my life at that little bakery. He doesn't have it anymore because he retired, but I constantly tell my sister to give him, my love, and tell him, hey, tell Pierre Holly says hi and that I miss him, because I do. That little bread store was awesome. It was like a scene out of a movie. I don't know. I feel like I don't do that story justice, but I used to buy my bread from a guy named Pierre. I can say that. That's awesome. I miss him so much. I miss him so much. Oh man, it was such a good croissant. You guys have no idea. And it was the size of my head. Literally, like once you've eaten bread in France, once you've had a chocolate croissant or certain delicacies in France, you just can't go back. Because now when I eat a chocolate croissant at Starbucks, what is that? It's not even a close comparison. We need to get bread from France. I don't know. They're just doing bread right. They're doing carbs right, you guys. Like, you need a reason to visit France. Go for the carbs. Some people want to go for the city of love. If I will be visiting for the carbs and family, of course. Yeah, them, because they're important too. But oh my gosh, I miss the food. So it's experiences like that I hold near and dear to my heart. Because doing things like that, meeting Pierre is awesome. There's a lot of rural area down in France, and there's quite a few farmers markets, which I went to when I was younger, and to be honest, I think I was a little bit too young to appreciate them because I actually found them mad boring. But looking back, I think, oh my gosh, I would love to do that now. But like, when you're a little kid, I was 12 at the time when I was going to farmers markets, so I was like looking at things that I just can't have because I didn't have money, and some of the things were maybe a little bit more sophisticated, less toys, so I was just like, what are we doing here? But now that I'm older, still a cool experience. I just wish I would have been an age where I could have fully appreciated that, but who knows, maybe I'll go back and I will definitely visit a farmer's market in France. So, yeah. And if you're wondering if I've ever been to Paris, I have not. Every opportunity to go, my parents decided to leave me elsewhere, or if my sister visited, also left me elsewhere. So no one has taken me to Paris. At the time I was a minor, so I would have needed to be accompanied by someone. But yeah, if you're wondering if I'm a little bit sour about that, but not really, it's like I've had a lot of other great experiences. Paris has never been really high up on my bucket list. I will visit soon, but it's not priority number one, so I'm not too sad about not having seen it because I've seen pictures and I feel like that's been enough. Time spent in the UK, they take their tea times very seriously. I think they have tea at 10 and then they have tea at I know 4 p.m. is an actual thing, 4 o'clock tea. And I love that, being from Africa where tea is predominantly the beverage that you connect with people over instead of coffee, because both tea and coffee are imported and exported from Kenya, but tea is most consumed. So being in the UK and having actual tea times and having that kind of a relationship with tea and how it pertains to people was awesome. I got to do things like ride a bullet train to visit the world's largest toy factory, which apparently is in the UK, so I remember things like that. I don't remember much about Canada, other than I went to a wedding there. I don't remember who, what, when, where. I don't even know what part of Canada I was in. I remember getting out of the car thinking, wow, it smells expensive. I don't know. So, been to Canada, can't remember anything about it. I don't know why I thought the air smelled expensive. I don't know. I have no idea. It was so little. So that's a pro, is all those traveling and life experience. Then there's the fact that I was born in Africa, so I spent a significant amount of time over there before permanently moving over here to the States when I was 13. To dive into relationships versus relationships in America, I think I've said this before on another episode. In Africa, it's very community oriented, where everyone just kind of looks after each other. If you visit someone, they'll literally kill a chicken and make some tea in your honor. If you meet someone on the street and they say hey and you say hey back, they're gonna go, hi, how are you? How is your family? How's school? Not knowing a thing about you, just guessing general facts, because they generally do care about the personal facts about your life. They have a genuine interest because it's just so community oriented. So when you're on the street, everyone is your brother, your sister, your cousin. That's it. The whole population is treated as if everybody's cousin, if that makes sense. Whereas in America, if somebody's a stranger, they are a stranger, and stranger danger. People don't go up to other people and go, oh, how are you? Oh, you're in school? How's that going? Oh, you're married? How's your wife? How are your kids? Tell me a little bit about that. That would be weird in America. So if you did that here, to be honest, a police report might get filed. So be very, 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 very careful. Whereas in Africa, this is just, it's a difference. If you do that, then it's because the stranger you're talking to they treat you as if you're a distant relative. Like, oh, that's my cousin. Is it? Nope. I feel like the only other group in America that does this is Hispanic people. In high school, I had a lot of Hispanic friends, and they would often tell me, if there's another Hispanic person or group in town, even if they just got to know them this week, they treat them like distant cousins and they become really good friends. So there are certain groups in America that do this, but you almost have to stay within your group. You can't just do that with anybody. You have to read the room, read the situation, otherwise things could get hairy pretty fast. But it was definitely easier to make friends in Kenya because everybody in Kenya considers strangers a friend. Whereas in America, if you're a stranger, you are a stranger. So that's the difference. Moving on to cons or struggles that I've had. Going back to making friends on apps or social media, you would think that I made friends in college since I did attend for a little over a year, but I didn't. And what I mean by that is I kind of have friends. I do have a few people that I see from time to time, but majority, I just don't truly know those people. I don't know their hearts. Maybe one or two, but I did go to school with a lot of people, but I just don't know their heart, and vice versa. I don't know them. They don't know me. Maybe they feel like they know me. I don't know. I can't read minds, but I have tried in my own way to reach out to people, make a new friend. Sometimes I feel like when I reach out to people, it's not deemed as good enough by those people. And maybe that's a personal issue. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I really go out of my way to make a friend by maybe even learning a new hobby or a skill that they're interested in, just so that we'll have something to talk about or do together. And then I get a little bit of a side eye, or, oh, she's trying too hard, or this person's a bit off, I'm just going to bounce. I don't know. I am trying and I am striking out, but 'tis the game of life. But what happens is, if I often strike out, then that means that they become more of an acquaintance from that time or period of my life. But the friendship doesn't contain any real substance, They don't go back to necessarily becoming a complete stranger like from school, but I could never go to them or these so-called acquaintance friends with something really heavy, or like, hey, I'm really struggling in this area, or hey, I could really use a friend, or at least I don't feel like I can, because I don't know that person, so it's a little bit weird. I'm very weird in groups as well. I can make friends with just about anyone, but I can't / have never been able to break into existing cliques or make long-term friends that started in a group. But then again, I feel like this is the case for most people when it comes to groups. I guess I'll give an example of this. A couple years ago, I did an internship. That was a group of like 12 to 15 people, and we all knew each other, but I could say that I didn't really know them, like it's a friend, like, oh yeah, I'm doing a school program with them, but do I know them? And the interesting case or conclusion for this scenario is I didn't know them, but it could also be said that I didn't really try. I didn't really try, but I was trying. So what happened, during school, and this was during COVID too, so do with that what you will. I was undergoing a lot of personal battles that felt like I wasn't winning. And when I wasn't doing that, I was fighting with leadership. Not because I did anything wrong, because leadership had some issues with me in the sense that I feel like they really struggled with the fact that they could not control me in an entirety. And so that just created issues. I wasn't necessarily doing things wrong or pissing off people. It was just the fact that I'm very hard to control in the sense like, okay, so a specific example is I do take notes when someone's talking, but I don't try to transcribe the whole thing word for word. If I get a nugget, I write it down, and that gives me opportunity to listen to what the speaker is saying. So sometimes I'll just be listening and I won't take notes for a long time because I either feel like I was able to retain that, or I'm waiting for that nugget that would best make sense to me. This was an issue. The fact that I didn't take notes at a certain like cadence or like often enough became a real big dramatic issue for no reason, and that was just due to control issues, which ended in me kind of pulling away from this program because I was fighting with people in different leadership roles, and in a way it kind of looked like I was ignoring my cohort, and I wasn't trying to. Again, this was largely due to some personal battles that were just really kicking my ass, and so kind of being a little bit of a recluse or pulling away from the group was because I was really, really, really struggling. And I know what you're thinking, why don't you just come out to the group and talk about your problems? Well, that was kind of tricky because leadership was often with us. So like if we sat in a circle and we were getting very vulnerable or talking about things, I sometimes really wanted to talk about these issues or be honest about what I was going through, but there was always one person in the room that I just didn't trust, and it wasn't another student. It was always like the leadership person that was more like a chaperone. And so I just was not about to open up about real sensitive stuff while being in a battle with someone that I'm not getting along with. Doesn't treat me the way that I would like to be treated. And it was going both ways, but leadership did start it. I will admit that. And I know I can be kind of difficult sometimes, but it's never intentional. Sometimes I just don't know that I'm being difficult. But if you talk to me, I will definitely course correct. But I just am not about to like be vulnerable with someone that I do not feel safe with. And that was the case almost every time we sat in a group and tried to be vulnerable. This person was in the room, so I wasn't saying shit. That's just how it was going. And I really feel bad looking back because it looks like I just didn't like people in the group or I wasn't interested in being there, and that wasn't the case at all. If one of those individuals were to come talk to me and ask me, hey, what was going on here? More than happy to explain it to them. But then again, I have not kept in touch with these people, so I can't see that happening. But that's just an example. So that's groups. I really enjoy being one-on-one with people. I've tried to do groups because like youth group, that's a group. Sunday school, that's a group. Church, that's a group. I grew up in a pretty evangelical household, so best believe groups. I really enjoy one-on-one time with someone, I feel like I really get to know them and I establish a relationship with them. That relationship then has the ability to have substance rather than them being just somebody that I know or more like an acquaintance. So I think that was kind of a detractor, that it was groups, when maybe I really just need to focus more on being friends one-on-one with people, which I'm doing, and it's turning out good. So yeah, if you've ever been in a group with me and it was through like church or something and it seemed like I didn't like you, most of the time something was probably just going on with me. I really don't have any ill will or sour feelings towards people. I just don't have the energy for it. And those relationships where you end up hating someone or being passive aggressive or you just start beefing with people, I'm much too oblivious to enter in one of those weird frenemy like beefing situations, because I just don't know when I'm in one, if that makes sense. But it's like the same with flirting too. Like, you have to make it really obvious if you're gonna flirt with me, because again, I'm just not gonna know what's happening. I'm pretty oblivious when it comes to those subtle things where the person doesn't say what they actually mean or what their actual intentions are, and they want me to like read between the lines. It's just not happening. I don't know why. I've been trying since I was younger, but I always drop the ball and miss what's going on until somebody like grabs me by the collar and goes, "Hey, are you mad at me?" Or, "Hey, are you interested in this?" And then I'm like, "Oh, okay." So there's that. Ooh, I recorded some immediate thoughts that I had on being a missionary and my relationship with people over time and over the years. So I'm just gonna import that into my program. And so you might hear my voice change as far as more room noise, decibels. Like, I might sound a little bit weird because I've imported an audio clip in addition to speaking right now, because I tried to transcribe it. I tried to kind of redo it, but in that moment, it was just some personal thoughts about what friendship means to me, and I couldn't have said it better in that clip, and there's just no recreating it, so I'm just gonna port it over. Before I do, I will let you know, because I do have some remaining thoughts. Even though making friends has been really, really hard for me, it's not all bad. Like, I do have 2 or 3 friends, like solid friends. I have a friend, her name is Yahira. She lives in Seattle. I've talked about her too. See, I told you I only had one friend. No, I'm just kidding, but also. Anyway, she lives in Seattle, and every once in a while, we catch up and we grab a beer together. And I know her because we actually went to high school together. She's the only person that I talked to from high school. Anyways, we have a lot in common. We get along well. We now live closer to each other. She used to live in another state, but that's someone that I can confide in and actually talk to, and I love hanging out with. However, we are both in school, so I haven't seen her in a month. When the new year started, all of our coursework doubled, so we just have not had time to hang out. But we will in the summer, so it's cool. But that's a solid friend I have. That's a friendship I wouldn't want to lose, because that's somebody I came up with, someone who knew me way back when. And you need people that knew you when you were younger, especially when you get older. You just do. So yeah, I have her as a friend. I'm trying to think of other actual friends that I have. I don't know. I'm blanking. Moving on. Another really aggravating thing that I've been experiencing, coming to find out, is your 20s is not meant for stable friendships, meaning you have rotating people in your 20s. So people will often tell you, hey, friends come and go in your 20s. Do not expect people to stay, because this is a learning experience. And this is a really depressing fact for me. And maybe that is some of the issue of why I'm not making friends. When you go from, being a missionary to moving every 6 months to a year, and then now you're a young adult. So when the people are supposed to be rotating, coming and going, rather than getting used to that or understanding what's happening in its entirety, it really bums me out, because I already did this for 18 years. What do you mean I have to do it for another 10? Because people have been telling me, oh, well, your real friends will come in your 30s, 40s, and so forth and so on, because certain people will just stay. But the fact that that's beginning to happen, where really close relationships are people that I thought those friendships would thrive or grow, and they've maybe just left and there's just no trace of them on the planet because they decided to cut ties with me for whatever reason. That's depressing. And I know it's just a part of the experience of being a young adult, but really? I don't want people to go. I like having friends. I like talking to people, So that's exhausting. I don't like that we're doing that right now, the whole rotating people in your 20s. But you have to go through it. But at the same time, maybe issue some Ben & Jerry's with that. Bro, it's so sad when you lose a friend, maybe other people care less about losing friends, but man, does it bum me out. It did back then and it does now, but I'm learning to take it a little bit less personally, because I know it's the stage of life that I'm in right now. So yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I've said what I need to say. Before I import that clip, I guess I just want to say, if you're struggling to make friends yourself, or you're struggling in that department, it'll get better. You just have to keep trying. I'm still trying. I'm still always trying to come up with new ways, new things to do, new avenues to take. Yeah, it'll get better. But here's a little bit more on the thoughts that I was having earlier this week that I was able to record in the voice memo app. So here is that now. Growing up a missionary kid, I am coming to find that I don't really have friends. It's more like I know people. I don't have this continuous kind of stable relationship with people so much as I know this interesting person, or this person from over here, or this person from over there. But it's like people I know, but not like a friend. Like, I don't know loyalty necessarily. I don't know deeply caring. Like, if I'm going through something, I know people, but I can't text them and talk to them about how I'm feeling, because that's just not the kind of relationship we have, even though sometimes when we talk it seems like it is, but it's just not. And that no matter how hard I try, that seems to always be proven. And I think it's just the way that I grew up, with moving place to place like every 6 months to a year. And I think that military kids would agree, because most people, they grow up in the same neighborhood. Maybe they move once or twice, but they come up with their friends. So they grow up with the same people K through 12. And so like some of their friends become enemies. Some enemies turn into friends. Then there's frenemies. And then some friends turn into strangers. And then some strangers turn into friends. And it's like, and you have 12 years to do that. And then after the 12 years, even now that I'm in my 20s, it seems like the people that I know that I want to call my friends, but I don't know how to like kind of close that gap and really become friends with somebody to the point where we can talk about stuff and I can lean on them or share exciting news with them, and we'd be happy together. And even in my 20s, those K through 12 friends, or even I guess some college, they will say, oh, my friend from here, or my friend from there, or they're still in their lives. So like, we'll be out in a social place and they'll recognize somebody at a local like REI or something because it's a friend from this time in their life. And no matter what, I've come to find that there's just no getting rid of those kinds of friends that you came up with, whether you like it or not, whether you're enemies, strangers, friends, romantic partners. They're just there because you can't go through that much time with someone and them just completely disappear necessarily, and some people do. But in my life, it seems like my so-called friends are a revolving door of people, and some of them are interesting, some of them are stable or neutral, or they have a certain characteristic about them, but like it's just a revolving door of people that I know. And so I wouldn't necessarily call them friends, even though I've always felt like I use that as a blanket term, which is why sometimes with specific people I make sure to say, oh, that's an acquaintance, because they're nowhere near a friend. But like people throw around the word friend, so loosely, and you go, oh, it's just friend, even though it's just like to say that's just somebody I know. And I don't like to do that, because if someone's my friend, they really are my friend. Like, you have my loyalty, like I care about you, I want to know what's going on in your life, I want to be a part of it. But I'm still figuring out how to put all that together, in my 20s. And somebody gave me some interesting insight. They said that sometimes you just have to pursue people kind of like a relationship, almost like you're dating. So even when they're not as interested, you still have to be like, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to hang out? Or like, hey, I'm going here. Do you want to come? Even though they're almost not reciprocating at all. And you can only do that for so long before you have to leave it alone and accept the fact that they're not interested. But you can't give up first 2 or 3 times that you reach out. You got to do like 5 to 8 and then give up, because that's what like dating is kind of like. But doing that, and then I've come to kind of learn that it really does take staying in one place for 2 years to make friends. Anything under that, it's just kind of shaky. If you move to a new place, it's only after 2 years do you realize who's permanent and who's not, who was a lesson and who was a blessing. So if you want permanence in your life, you gotta stay in the same place for at least 2 years. Like, there's something called the Seattle Freeze, and that just basically means that Seattle's not friendly, or it's not easy to make friends in Seattle, and I would agree. So basically, it just takes putting in the work for 2 years, I think. I'd say that's a pretty on point statement. So all right, I hope you enjoyed that little recording. Like I said, that kind of explains my story as well as my feelings in, 5 or 6 minutes. But I was literally laying in bed, and then that came to me because I was thinking, what is friendship? What do friends mean to me? And so I knew I had to get that out, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to think it and write it as fast. So I just opened up voice memos and immediately recorded that, and then realized I'm just going to have to port this over because there's no recreating it. So hopefully you understood what I was trying to get across. Maybe you related to it, maybe you didn't, but that is a little bit more of my story. So yeah, anyways, I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to give the show a follow on Instagram and Twitter at hustlinwithholly. This episode is also available via the official YouTube channel. That's Hustlin' with Holly podcast on YouTube. DM, comment, or tweet at me with any questions, comments, or feedback you have for the show. Last but not least, if you want to help the show grow, one of the ways that you can do that is by giving the show a 5-star rating. And if you want to take it a step further, you are more than welcome to leave a review. With that being said, stay happy, stay healthy, stay hustling. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!